The Gambia Competition and Consumer Protection Commission on Tuesday hosted a validation ceremony for the proposed Competition and Consumer Protection Bill 2025. The event held at the Saroda Karabajara Conference Center in Bijulo brought together key stakeholders including government officials, representatives of international organizations and members of the private sector. The new bill seeks to match and strengthen the current Competition Act of 2007 and the Consumer Protection Act of 2014. Its aim is to establish a more comprehensive legal framework to regulate market competition and safeguard customer rights across the country. Presiding over the ceremony on behalf of the Minister of Trade, Industry and Regional Integration and Employment, Honorable Babukar Ojouf, was Minister of Defense, Honorable Serigne Modou Njie. In his opening statement, Minister Njie underscored the significance of the bill in cultivating a fair and competitive business environment and in ensuring customer welfare is adequately protected.
The bill addresses key gaps that has limited the powers and impact of the Commission, such as the introduction of fines for abuse of dominance and exploitative market conduct, power to initiate consumer protection investigations, as well as the removal of all fees attached to the lodging of consumer complaints. Once the bill is enacted, all consumer lodge complaints at zero cost. This goes to show the commitment of the government in safeguarding the interests of consumers and enhancing their welfare.
Executive Secretary of the GCCPC, Mr. Basiru Njie, presented an overview of the bill, highlighting its core provisions. He emphasized the bill's potential to drive sustainable change in the lives of Gambians by fostering a more dynamic and transparent private sector.
Today is the day we commence the process of ensuring that all relevant concerns from stakeholders in relation to competition and consumer welfare in this country is addressed in this bill. This bill is a product of extensive consultation, technical review, and stakeholder engagement. And it is not just about enforcement and institutional strength. It is about impact. It is about making sustainable change in the lives of Gambians and the private sector. It is about making sure every Gambian has access to quality products, competitive pricing, and markets that reward innovation and fairness. It is about building a future where the rules are clear, where markets are competitive, and redressal mechanisms are free and accessible to every Gambian. Ladies and gentlemen, with this bill, we are proposing to remove all filing fees for complaints for consumers. That means all consumers from the length and breadth of this country should be able to file consumer complaints free of charge.
Chairperson of the GCCPC, Ms. Yasin Senghor, also addressed the gathering. She acknowledged the collaborative efforts of various stakeholders and commended the European Union and Commonwealth for their technical assistance and continued support throughout the drafting process.
The rationale for the draft bill, which we hope to have validated today, is to merge the enforcement regimes for both instruments into a unified piece of legislation that will enhance a more vigorous regulatory and compliance framework. On behalf of the Board of Commissioners, I would firstly extend the gratitude and appreciation of the Commission to the Commonwealth for their generous support. The draft bill, if passed into law, will not only provide for penalties for anti-competitive and consumer rights infringements, but it will also create an effective public enforcement regime that will foster deterrence, sustainable economic growth and development.
A representative of the European Union spoke on the importance of strong competition legislation as a pillar of economic development and consumer protection. She reaffirmed the EU's commitment to supporting the Gambia in building a fairer and more competitive marketplace.
On behalf of the European Union, I would like to express our deep commitment to support the economic development of the Gambia. We have seen over the years the effort made by the government and the private sector to develop a more conducive business environment in boosting the country's development and competitiveness. This reform aligns with the EU delegation's initiatives to promote trade and private sector development in the Gambia. This bill requires the development of a regulatory framework for mergers.
The Commonwealth representative also noted that while competition legislation has evolved significantly over the years globally, The Gambia must also be proactive in adopting modern legal standards to keep pace with international best practices.
This draft, of course, seeks to cover emerging issues in competition law, looking at things like digital markets. That is, of course, making a lot of waves in recent times. And there are other things that are happening. There's also issues around competition law and gender, competition law and sustainability. So we really think competition law as we know it maybe 10 years back is not what it is today, and we need to be at the forefront of things as it changes, especially as GCCPC has put out themselves to be supposed to be leaders. You guys are leaders because you're hosting ECA. You have been the first to adopt competition law, so you don't have any choice than to make sure that you're engaging at all the right levels. And another thing that this bill also seeks to do is to make sure that it aligns with regional protocols. We have ECOWAS, you have AFTA, and then of course international best practices.
The Competition and Consumer Protection Bill 2025 aims to eliminate legal uncertainties and provide clear, enforceable guidelines to ensure fairness in trade and consumer transactions. Reporting for Kerfatu, I am Buba Gajago.